Heaven is the most peaceful and magical place in the universe, where 5 streams of energy and super energy combine to form matter forms. They include simple matter, which constitutes rock, hills, grass, gold, silver, and treasures. Complex matter, which constitutes energy flows to connect with all planets in the universe and maintain their existence and sustainable development. Supermatter, which constitutes the spiritual life form, it is called Tueling. Those 3 groups of matter form a paradise of peace and serenity, with brilliant lights enveloping the massive planet and illuminating the surrounding planets. Tuelings are souls. They have the most transcendent intelligence in the universe. They operate complex matter and simple matter. Heading and operating the entire universe is the first Tueling. He is worshipped and called by people with noble names such as God and Buddha. In addition, he has another name, Nalas Nalanda, which embraces all noble meanings about him. He is the wisdom of the universe. All things are born of him. He works hard to develop the life of the universe to become stable. He was the most fully enlightened being in the universe. He attained the only immortality in the universe. The beautiful memories of him and that heavenly planet brought my mind back to a past scene when he lectured to his children. This lecture makes people wake up and understand why people have to suffer in this world. Once, Nalas Nalanda was walking under the trees, emitting bright, colorful lights, when he suddenly saw children playing together not far away. They use magic within themselves to steer small, brightly colored stones into a spot on the ground. The bright lights from the energy flows transmitted by the children blend into the rocks, creating a colorful and enchanting space. The laughter and concentration in the game kept them from noticing the difference around them. They did not know Nalas Nalanda when he stood nearby, next to an old tree, watching the children playing together. His children played for a long time without even realizing his presence nearby. At this time, the children seemed tired and bored after a long time playing. One said,
"Well, I don't play anymore. I don't have any fun."
Then they all sat down together. They let out long breaths as if worried about something, and their hands constantly threw the stones they had just played around. Another said,
"We play these games day in and day out. I'm bored.
Another continued,
I want to be reincarnated into the human world. We should ask the Father to let us come down and become a man."
Then they all said in unison,
"I also want to be a human to experience human life."
Then the children got up to look for him. At this time, the children discovered him standing by a nearby tree and ran over to him. They cheered and clung to him. He held them in his arms and had warm smiles on his lips. Then he said to them,
"Sit down here. I will listen to your wishes."
When the children do not know how to talk to their father, they look at each other as if telling each other to tell their father what they want. He understood and said,
"I see you guys are having fun. Why don't you want to play anymore? Why are you so bored? Children should enjoy moments of play that will help them become innocent, connected, and free of troubles."
One child immediately replied,
"Father, we are bored, and we do not feel joy or happiness when we are just playing day in and day out while the older brothers have been reincarnated as humans in the human world. Father, we also want to be humans. Please let us come down to the world to practice."
He looked at them and gave a satisfied smile because his children had grown up. This is a special thing when they are young, but they already have a wish. This wish is the mission of each Tuelin to perform when eligible to be incarnated as a human to practice. He looked at them and said,
"I am delighted that you desire to be a human, proving you are more mature than before. Children, this is not just a wish. It is your mission in this vast universe. It is a vital mission so that each Tueling can survive and develop sustainably against the attacks of destructive energy. To be incarnated as a human, you must meet the conditions. You must cultivate enough information and certain cognitive abilities before being incarnated as a human. The living environment in the human world is like a school. It is a place for children, for all Tuelins to learn, experience, and practice for the growth of wisdom and the strength to unite, spread, and develop all things to become sustainable.
A child immediately interrupted him.
Dad, I love going to school, I like being a human, and I also want to grow up in wisdom and strength to develop the universe with you.
At that time, he pondered and asked them,
Do you know that when you become human, you will have to live in a simple, dirty body? You will have to go through countless times suffering in the world. You will no longer be as peaceful and free as you are in this paradise. You will no longer remember this place. You will not be able to use miracles in the human world, and what you wish for will not be granted. Those are the rules I have created so that the Tulins have the best environment for the growth of wisdom and the power of compassion. Therefore, the human world is a living environment with nothing but suffering.
The children looked at each other and nodded together. Then they said together,
Father, we have learned about the sufferings of being human in the human world. You have taught us, and by other Tulins only teach after they return from the human world. We are not afraid of suffering. We accept it and want to live in it instead of playing boring games here.
A smile appeared on Nalas Nalanda's lips again. Then he stood up and said to the children,
Rise and follow me. I will equip you with important knowledge before becoming a human. Children, try to remember them when you encounter suffering in the human world. That information will react and help you have the best thoughts to overcome suffering. Not only that, it will help you grow up faster.
At the father's words, the children shouted in joy. They immediately followed the father with a radiant face instead of sadness. They know that they are about to be incarnated as humans to practice in the human world. So their joy also makes the grass, trees, and rocks have more brilliant light. Although Nalas Nalanda walked lightly and leisurely, the children still had to walk as if they were running to catch up with their respected father. The bright lights from the precious stones on the ground and the colorful lights from the flowers and trees mingled with his aura. All create the purity, majesty, and wisdom of his compassion. After magical moments of light and aura from him blending into everything, he suddenly stopped. In front was a door, where several mature Tulins were on duty to guard that door. It could be a secret door or inside, and significant things must be protected, so there were adult souls on duty to protect them. When he walked up to them, they bowed and greeted him.
Father, do you need to come inside?
He just smiled and gently nodded to indicate his agreement. At that time, the children accompanying him became curious. They did not know what Father would show them inside the door. They looked at each other and couldn't hide their nervousness and curiosity. 5-colored light shines through the crack in the door when mature Tulins gently open that secret door. The iridescent lights and dazzling white light cause the children to momentarily cover their eyes with their hands. When they take their hands away from their eyes, in front of them is an exceptional space. They followed Nalas Nalanda to go deeper inside. The children immediately cheered.
It's so beautiful. Dad, why haven't we been here before? Why don't you let us play here?
They looked bewildered at the dazzling white light and interwoven iridescent rays radiating from the smoky black quartz crystals. Those quartz crystals were as small and as large as the body of a mature Tueling. Those crystalline rocks are everywhere in the vast cave. They are on the ground, on the walls, and the roof of the cave. This is a large and magnificent cave, and it contains rare stones. Nalas Nalanda stood waiting for the children to approach him after they ran through the cave to observe those miraculous rock crystals. A moment later, when they came to him, he said to them,
You have been in this place. You have lived in this place.
The children were surprised and asked,
Dad, you said we used to live in this place, so why don't we know? Can't even remember this place.
Of course, you cannot remember that, my children. This place is called the place that nurtures and creates Tulins from yin and yang energy embryos. Children are also raised and born from those black rock crystals. I call this place the Quartz Crystal Cave, and they were created by me right after I created this paradise. Only here is this rare type of quartz. In addition, each planet in the universe also has one inside its core.
He replied. Then he meditated and looked at those magical stones. The children were looking forward to his lecture, but did not want to distract his attention from those precious crystals. Because of that, no one spoke out loud. Everyone looked at the rock crystals as if they had some magical attraction. After observing the rock crystals, he sat down on the ground in the middle of the space of the cave. The children seemed to know he was about to lecture them, so they immediately sat down around him. Then he said,
Children, today I will teach you two important lessons, which is why Tuolins will have to incarnate in human bodies in the human world to practice. 1. The first lesson, I will tell you about how you were born. Hey children, look at the quartz crystals. Inside, there are embryos of yin and yang energy. Each embryo has the smallest positive energy particle linked to the smallest negative energy particle. Each yin and yang energy embryo will be placed in that rare quartz stone crystal. The energy of each stone will nourish and protect the yin and yang energy embryos after they are placed. This means the yin and yang embryos are nurtured in the best environment by the beautiful energy in each stone. In addition, they are carefully guarded and protected. Each yin and yang energy embryo is different in its internal nature, and the embryos are not the same because the information value encoded inside each smallest energy particle is different. That will create differences in intelligence and cognitive abilities among Tuolins after birth. The smallest positive and negative energy particles are born after a long nurturing time. This process takes place over a long time to create more energy particles. At the same time, the yin and yang energy embryo membrane are also peeled into many layers to help transform the original yin and yang embryo into a mature yin and yang embryo. At that time, the original yin and yang embryo had the two smallest positive and negative particles in the middle of the mature embryo. In the original positive particle, the positive intellectual wave codes are stored. Simultaneously, it is copied into the smallest positive energy particles and moved to the outer positive pole. In the original negative particle, the negative intelligence wave codes are stored. At the same time, it is copied into the smallest negative energy particles and moves to the outer negative pole. They store the smallest yin and yang energy particles at the yin and yang extremes. When they are increased in number of particles, they will join together to form a composite positive and negative energy particle. To be linked, the smallest energetic particles must have the same or similar information content inside the particle, and they will link between positive particles and negative particles together. They then move outside the adult embryo to form the first 16 energy composite structure, including 8 negative particles rotating around 8 positive particles in a 1:1 ratio. The neutral particles will make the task of bonding between synthetic positive energy particles. When the yin and yang embryo structure have 16 expanded particles, which means starting more than 16 particles, a Tuolin baby is officially born. To create a connection between the smallest yin and yang energy particles to create Tuolin, it must be an energy particle with a super complex intellectual wave code. I will teach you when you are more mature. Hey kids, it's not easy to go from an original yin-yang embryo to a mature yin-yang embryo and then a baby. Completing this process takes a very long time and the safest environment. This cave is the safest environment created to nurture and give birth to Tuolin's beings. Children, please cherish your presence and life in this paradise. Hey children, I tell you that there will be an intellectual wave code inside each negative and positive energy particle. Each strand of intellectual wave code stores all information about the circumstances in which those energy particles were born, including images, vibrations, emotions, ideologies, and actions of the generating subject in those particles. The information inside is the secret, the essence, the wisdom of each Tuolin born from the original yin and yang embryo. Therefore, each Tuolin cannot know its nature, its inner secret. Even when we have not created a living environment on Earth and brought Tuolins to incarnate as humans to practice, I still do not fully understand the nature of Tuolins. However, up to now, I have been a fully enlightened being and have had the best path to save the Tuolins and this universe to become sustainable. 2. The second lesson I teach you is about destructive energy particles. If you want to understand this type of particle, you need to practice in the human world. You must experience suffering and become more mature. Then, I will explain them thoroughly for you to understand. Children, I call it destructive energies because they will disintegrate you, other Tuolins, and the entire universe. After being decomposed by them, you will no longer have life, other Tuolins will no longer have life, and this universe will no longer have life. They are truly deadly to the universe and Tuolin life form. When the destructive energy moves to and disintegrates the Tuolins and all things in the universe, the Tuolins will then feel pain and suffering because the destruction is taking place. You will feel helpless because controlling or destroying that energy is impossible. The same is true for all things when the energy of destruction penetrates and disintegrates. For the Tuolin life form, being penetrated and disintegrated by the energy of destruction is the only suffering in our existence. Those sufferings will only end when they completely disintegrate every single Tuolin. Why does destruction energy attack Tuolins and other forms of matter in the universe? That's because the energy of destruction does not have a connecting mechanism like us and the universe, so they exist in the independence of each ultimate single particle. When they move, the heat in them is generated quickly and overloaded. They face the risk of being detonated by too rapid heat generation. Therefore, they need to find physical structures or Tuolins in the universe to remove excess heat from them. This excess heat causes the structure of Tuolin and the universe to disintegrate. Thus, destroying energy that disintegrates the universe and Tuolins is also a way for them to save themselves. You must be aware of this destructive energy. They are shaped like the smallest energetic particles in the universe and brown in color. They were born before the universe and exist outside of our universe. In particular, they are present throughout the universe like storms of destructive energy. You have to stay away from those places because once you move in, you will be decomposed immediately. Children, the energy of destruction is also a source of heat to help energy particles in the universe be separated and linked together, allowing the universe and Tuolin life form to be developed sustainably. However, we must understand and know how to control them. When you can control them, that is the moment when you have grown up. You have become immortal because you can attract them and convert them into heat to produce new super energy particles. It is precious for the sustainable development of the universe and each Tuolin itself. Hey kids, when I teach you this information, your yin and yang embryo will receive and store it. When you incarnate as a human to practice, that information will be transmitted to the human brain to create the necessary response to the information in the human world that you will have to face. When you understand, you will easily overcome suffering in the human world. This is very important. Keep it in mind.
One of the children immediately asked him when he stopped preaching.
Father, so we have only one suffering, which is being disintegrated by the energy of destruction. Is there a time when the destructive energy disintegrates you?
He immediately smiled and gently replied,
They cannot disintegrate me because I'm already a fully enlightened being. I can take them and transform them into super energies. I can even move into their habitat and they never decay me.
One of them continued to ask,
Father, so we must understand ourselves first, then we can learn how to control the energy of destruction, right, Father?
Yes, that is correct. To understand yourself, you must live in an environment opposite to this wonderful environment in paradise, the living environment of humans on Earth. That environment is nothing but suffering. Only suffering can help you understand all the secrets within yourself. Only then can you learn to control and transform the destructive energy.
Then he said,
So you understand why incarnating as a human to practice in the human world is the mission of every Tuolin. That is the mission to liberate the suffering of you, Tuolin life form, and the whole universe.
After the children listened, they seemed immersed in contemplation because the information they had just learned was vast. The thoughtful expressions on all the children made him speak to encourage them.
You guys relax with games. Another day I will teach you other lessons.
Then he and his children came out of the cave that nurtures and produces Tuolins. The children followed him with gentle steps and thoughtful faces.